Kiara, good evening. Mary Joseph coming live from Auckland. I'm a licensed immigration advisor, and today we are here to talk about one of the most uh, desired topics, one of the most popular topics about New Zealand migration as such, which is the pathways to residence to New Zealand, right? So we will wait for a few people to trickle in slowly, but then I'm going live in three different places, so you will see my eyes wandering around a little bit. I'm going live on Facebook, YouTube channel, and our my Instagram channel as well. So I'm kind of juggling a couple of places here. So please don't mind me. We'll wait for a few viewers to come in, but in the meantime, just gonna talk about New Zealand and what's happening here. So it's the start of winter. It's getting cold, and it's been raining cats and dogs for the past week or so. There've been a bit of floods. There've been a bit of flooding in a couple of places. I myself was stuck in the motorway for a couple of hours last week, and yeah, it's been crazy weathers here. But well, we're doing all well. Thank you so much. And so this session, as I said, I'm streaming in three different places. You can leave your questions if you have any during the session or towards the end um, in the comment sections. I have enabled the commenting on Facebook specifically, not on YouTube. And I don't have proper accessibility on my phone. Hence, I'm not really going to look at the Instagram channel. But if you're really interested to ask me a question, I would recommend you to come onto our Facebook page. That's AJV Global Facebook page. Just come and look up AJV Global on Facebook, and you will find us. You can basically follow us, and you can see this live stream from there as well. Um, so there's not really a difference. There won't be any time lag or anything if you jump between these different channels. Right. So people are coming in. I can see a few visitors across all the channels. Uh, right, my team is there on standby to support me. Thank you very much, team. And if I have any questions, I can definitely get some assistance from them. But otherwise, let's get going. So today we are talking about the main topic today is residence pathways to New Zealand. So New Zealand has been, I'm sure a lot of you are aware, New Zealand has been on the news because we were closed for such a long time because we are a country with limited resources, and obviously we were very, very careful when COVID-19 had struck us. We were closed for the longest time, and we didn't even allow New Zealanders to come in initially back into the country, but then eventually we started allowing different groups of people. Other governments started allowing different groups of people to come into the country, and then eventually we opened after long waiting, 2 years of waiting. We opened it last July, and that's when basically things started getting a little difficult for us because life was going back to normal, and there was crucial shortage of workers skills across the board for the country. So because what happened during COVID, we lost a lot of people because they went back, workers of belonging to other countries. They decided to go back, or even after COVID, a lot of people have migrated and moved from New Zealand to other countries for various reasons. Um, what happens is there's a lot of inflow and outflow constantly happening in New Zealand, right? People always seek for better opportunities. They always seek for more money. They seek more opportunities, bigger economy, bigger lifestyle. So, because of which, a lot of New Zealanders tend to leave the country and go elsewhere, because of which there's always what do you say, a bit of hole in our skills, right, in the availability of skilled professionals in the country, because New Zealanders themselves are leaving. So when that, plus we have a growing population, yeah, plus we've got an aging population, so people are retiring and those positions are getting vacant. People are there are more people, I mean, the population increase, and because of which also we do need more and more people. The industry is growing, the economy is growing, so all that. And because the borders were shut for such a long time, the usual incoming of migrant crowd has been zero to nil for the past 2.5 years, and the borders were closed, because of which it's created a deeper hole for us. So there have been sector agreements across the board, and there are a lot of immigration policies that have been revised and changed, making it feasible for people with skills to come into the country while coming into the country. So one of those is opening the skilled migrant category, which was always the big pathway to come into the country. Besides that, uh, I said the government had also released another alternate pathway, which is also under skilled migrant. All the residence pathways that I'm going to talk to you about mainly focuses around you having job, you having the skills to come into the country. There is a very small window of people who are able to come in without a job offer. Even if you do come in, you eventually will need to get a job offer to get residence, right? The only two categories you don't to actually four categories that you don't need job offers also I'm going to cover, right? So the first most important pathway, the skilled migrant category. There are three main areas in skilled migrant category. The first one being skilled migrant category points based system, where you get points for your age, your qualifications, your work experience, and a job offer in New Zealand. So they need to total to 180, right? We do have a lot of people who come to us and say, hey, listen, I've got 200 points and I'm qualifying, I want to put my EOI, or I've already submitted my EOI, and can you tell me what are the chances? And often we realize the points that have been claimed are incorrect, right? When you look up the website, it will be very simple, saying, oh, age so much, that's great, qualifications great, but what happens is the clauses in between when you can claim points for qualifications and work experience is the critical part, right? Not all work experience are recognized, not all skills are recognized, and most importantly, you need to be suitably qualified for the area for which you're claiming points, right? I'll give you a very simple example. Now, somebody has claimed experience for, say, someone who's a bachelor in commerce, right? Has experience in IT and is claiming points in IT, right? So, oh, we're going ahead and claiming points for your qualifications, and you're claiming points for your, work experience. Now, the problem over there is you are a bachelor of commerce, but has no qualification relevance to your work, right? A commerce grad is not suitably qualified if you look at, say, the work experience points that you're claiming, right? There is no match, because the qualifications required for a person who's doing a job as an IT programmer has a list of qualifications that you're required to. So, okay, great. Even if you are having that qualification, you need to know whether you need assessment for your qualification, whether your qualification is acceptable under the New Zealand standards. So, like I said, there are lots of little integrities. People often take claim points incorrectly for having a qualification in the skill shortage area. They don't realize that there is a specific requirement if you have to claim points under the long term skill shortage list, right? So, it's important that you understand all these clauses before you claim points in various places, right? So, that's one thing. That's what I would like to say, is you need to be very, very careful as to when you're claiming points and things like that. Now, great. So what happens is, once you claim those points, you go ahead and apply your visa, your EOI, which is called expression of interest, and then you're invited to apply, right? When you apply for your residence, that's where the actual application, when you apply for residence, you basically provide supporting documents for all the areas that you have claimed points for. If you don't have point documents, then you can't, those documents, that area is not verifiable. Simple. So you're saying, okay, I've got 10 years work experience, but I don't have documents for 3 years. Unfortunately, it's only 7 years that you are able to show documentation for. So for areas that you are claiming points for, it is really, really important that you show documentary evidence for everything that you're claiming points for, right? So great, if you have shown everything correctly, if once you go ahead and lodge, immigration will process your application. They will see whether you have claimed it correctly, third party verification, etc., national security check for a few people, etc., etc., etc. If you don't have a job offer, because that is one of the important aspects of the skilled migrant category points based system. So if you don't have a job offer, or you don't have an employer offering you a job in New Zealand, or if you're not working in an employment, now this applies for people both onshore and offshore, okay? So if you don't have employment, that is skilled employment, that means you will not get residence directly. You will not get your resident visa directly. You will instead be granted a job search visa. Now, what does this job search visa do? Is it gives you an opportunity of 12 months for you, the principal applicant, to travel to New Zealand and be able to find a job, right? Find a job. What job? Not any job. It has to be relevant to the area that you're claiming points for, right? This is very, very important. I see again a lot of people are coming into this country, have claimed points, everything, and are coming into the country and now looking for jobs. They are not aware what kind of job to apply for, right? So I've seen a stream of people who were granted job search visas and now coming into the country and do not understand what kind of jobs will actually get them the residence eventually, because you have 12 months, you come by yourself, you don't come with your family. So it becomes very, very stressful for you to focus on saying, okay, what is that will actually get me a job, right? So it's important for you to discuss this and see what kind of opportunities are available in New Zealand the most, and what is eventually a skilled role for the residence purposes, right? So that's your, so 12 months you have. If you find a skilled job, you go ahead and apply for your residence and you get your residence, and your family comes and joins you. That's what it is going to be, the SMC points based system for people offshore. Someone who's onshore, more than likely you have a job offer or you are in the job, and basically you will be granted residence straight off because you're in the country already with employment. And um, based on what my experience says, the ideal profile who will qualify for this skilled migrant category points based system right now, based on the maximum points across the board, is someone who is under the age of 39, who is a master's qualified person. That obviously should be on part of New Zealand master's qualification, working in an area of absolute skill shortage, or the long-term skill shortage list that's called, who's worked for 10 years or more. All that should be verifiable, plus gaining points in that area as a bonus points, and is married also to a master's holder, right? This is the ideal combination, okay, which is a miss and go sometimes, because when it was 160 it was actually quite possible, right? But with 180 it's a bit of a stretch. So you need to tick all this. So if you're going to ask me, Mary, do I qualify? If you tick the boxes here, only then you will qualify. Under the age of 39, have a master's which is on par with New Zealand, working in the area of a long-term skill shortage for 10 years or more, being that means you need to meet the requirement for the LTSL as well, and basically married to someone who has a master's or more, master's degree or higher. Now, both the principal applicant and secondary applicant are required to take IELTS. Certain exceptions are there, but pretty much most of them from across the world need IELTS or PTE, and you need to get a 6.5 overall band to meet these requirements. So this is what it is. So before you ask me, send me an email and ask me if you do qualify. First, see if you check the boxes in this area. Even for the job search visa, you need this. If you don't have it, then you got to look at alternate pathways, right? So the second pathway is the skilled migrant category, which is the work to residence pathway. Now, this is for people who are in the green list at the moment. green list, and there is a sector agreement right now for healthcare workers that include your aged care workers and everything. So the deal is simple for people who are on the green list or in the sector agreement under the aged care. You are, so this is tier 2 green list, not tier 1, tier 2 green list, which is work to residence, right? So you need to get a job, a skilled job, paid at median wage. You need to be suitably qualified for it. And if an employer is willing to sponsor your visa, basically you support your visa or sponsor your visa, whatever that is called, whether you're onshore or offshore, you can come in, work for 2 years, and at the end of 2 years, you qualify for residence. There is no points structure in this particular pathway. It is you being in a skilled role that meets the requirement of tier 2 green list or the sector agreement with healthcare workers. You need to be on an accredited employer work visa for 2 years. At the end of 2 years is when you qualify for residence. The only two main requirements is, one is we are able to verify your employment properly, that you've worked, you've not, you've not screwed up on anything in terms of your medicals or police clearance certificate, you've been a good person here in the country, um, and meet IELTS of 6.5 overall, right? This is only required for the principal applicant and not for the family, right? So your partner doesn't need English language requirement to be met here. Only the principal applicant needs to meet that requirement. So that is your second pathway: work to residence, green list, tier 2 occupations, and healthcare. Now, under healthcare, the ones that are basically qualifying under this are aged care workers, community support workers. There's a whole lot of them, guys. You can go up on the healthcare workers list. Actually, the policy is not clearly out yet because it will be rolled out in 2024. The understanding is people have been on the accredited employer since last year. So technically, a lot of them will qualify only next year. Hence, the policy as such will be rolled out next year. But it is there. That pathway is clearly available. So there's 2 years work to residence for healthcare workers under the sector agreement. However, you have to be paid the median wage. That's absolutely a requirement. Okay, median wage right now is 29.76 per hour, I think, or 66 per hour. To be, sure, just make it 30. But I think it's 29.66. Just give me a second. Median wage times, it changes so often, guys. Trust me, it just changed recently. So it's 29.66. Yeah. And it came into effect on the 27th of February 2023. So it's expected that the median wage will remain like this until next year. Okay. So if you're going to be sponsored a visa, it has to be at this wage. Absolutely no exceptions to that. And you have to work for 2 years to get the work to residence. Now there is another one called straight to residence tier 1 green list, right? So if you just say green list, you'll get a whole lot of you get link of the immigration website. It talks to you about the list of occupations that are on the green list tier 1. Now, if you are on the green list tier 1, that means you qualify for straight to residence. The minute you have a job offer, even if you've not started to work with your employer, as long as it's a genuine and verifiable job offer, you can apply for residence, right? Under the straight to residence. Now, I've heard and I know of clients who have got this visa under 2 months. Yeah. So, and I also know that a lot of people from offshore are applying even before they are making it into the country, right? So there are lots and lots of jobs under the green list tier 1, guys. So I just wanted to run through some of those jobs in case you are in one of those areas. You could kind of talk to us about it. So the most common ones we hear is usually engineers, right? So you do have electrical engineers, electronic engineers, electrical engineering technicians are there on that. Then you've got analyst programmers who are on the straight to residence pathway. We've got cardiologists and cardiothoracic surgeons, which is a little tricky purely because you need registration, right? And then CTOs, chief information officers, chief technology officers, that also comes under straight to residence. Yeah, so someone at a very senior level. If you're working in the area of IT and if you're able to find a job here as a CIO, which is a Chief Information Officer, that's great. Civil engineers are in tier one, civil engineering technicians are in tier one, construction project managers are in tier one, dermatologists, again, tough because of registration. Developer programmers are also in tier one. Then you've got diesel motor mechanic is tier two, it's a work to residence. Um, then you've got electrical engineers, electrical engineering technicians. Then you've got electronic engineering technicians, electronics engineers, and then a whole lot of doctors are there in that. But please do understand, if you're a doctor, the challenges is registration with the New Zealand Medical Board, which is a long drawn process. So you will need to do all that before you get registration, before you get employment here. So is it with nurses, and so is the same with a couple of other occupations. Um, Food technologist, brilliant. A lot of the long-term skill shortage roles have also come into the green list, guys. There is a lot of overlap, like the food technologists and all the engineers. There's quite a bit of an overlap. So that's what it's a good thing that it's not much different. Yes, the requirements are definitely different to the long-term skill shortage list. It's not the same. The SMC points-based system still look at your long-term skill shortage list. That is still valid, but the skill migrant category, straight to residence and work to residence looks at the green list, and it does not look at the LTSSL. So it's a revised fresh list post COVID, right? ICT managers, ICT project managers, ICT security specialists are in straight to residence. Then you've got materials engineers across. I think all the engineers pretty much are under skill level one, the tier one. So that's a good thing. Midwives and nurses are in tier one, so you get residence as soon as you get a job. Multimedia specialist is tier one, straight to residence. Then you've got a lot of other medical roles that I can see over here, but which I'm not going to touch because it's going to be very difficult. Product design engineer is a skill level one, tier level one, and skill level one, according to ANSCO. Quantity surveyor, that's brilliant. It's a tier one role. Then you've got registered nurses. As I said, nurses all are tier one, straight to residence. Yeah. And teachers, I know a lot of you must be wondering if teachers are in tier one or tier two. Teachers are all secondary, primary, and early childhood are all under tier two. That means you have to work for 2 years minimum in order to get your work to residence pathway. Yeah. Software tester, tier one, and you've got couple of other medical and telecommunications engineer and telecommunications network engineers, both are in tier one. Surveyor also in tier one. So it's exciting to see that there's so many jobs out there that are basically needing people badly. And I know for a fact across the world there are people with these skills available in abundance, who are willing to basically move and come into this country, right? Now you might instantly ask me, okay, Mary, how can I get these jobs? Yeah, you're telling me that there are a lot of opportunities, but how do I get this job? So I know for a fact a lot of employers have gone out all out and have advertised, right? And they are willing to sponsor migrants from overseas, specifically because they have gone through this regime of something called accreditation, right? Employers who would like to hire migrants are required to go through a process called accreditation, and a lot of them have already got that in place. And if it is one of these green list occupations, they don't even have to advertise, means they don't even have to not advertise, I'd say they don't have to do labor market test, means they don't have to prove that there were no New Zealanders available for this job. So a lot of employers are going through that process. Okay. So you as an applicant, what is important is to actually find those employers. There's a lot of creative ways to do that. One is a straightforward way is to apply through something called seek.co.nz, right? Which is the largest job search site here in New Zealand. That's the best pathway or area to look at. The second thing to do is to actually find these opportunities on LinkedIn, because employers are now also going to a more professional platform in terms of reaching skilled people through LinkedIn. They would individually post on their company sites, or there's jobs, LinkedIn jobs that they have posted, and they may not outrightly say, hey, listen, we will hire people from overseas. They'd like people who are here already with a visa. They'd like, because it's one less headache for them. But if you're good and they have struggled for over 3 or 4 months to find somebody here to fill the gap, then they will definitely have a look at you. But apply properly. Okay, number one, your CV. Do not keep it longer than 2 pages. I think it's a bit of a problem for people from certain countries. They believe, also from the country I belong from, India, I believe we like lengthy CVs. We like elaborate CVs where we explain the projects that we have done, the multiple qualifications, the all the, what do you say, voluntary roles we have done, the certificates that we have gained across, not required. If an employer has listed 5 skills that's required and you have those 5 and 20 more, put only those 5 skills. Okay. But if you think this employer is in the certain sector and my other skill will be quite important for them, then do list it. But don't overwhelm the employer that you're applying for, because what happens is then the employer tends to look at you and say, oh, this guy is overqualified, or this lady is overqualified, and I don't really want overqualified person for a basic role or an entry level position. um because if you are overqualified, there's always a risk that you will leave this job and go away, right? So they want to know whether the effort that they are going to take with hiring a person and bringing them from offshore, this person is going to eventually stay on and not leave and go. Because if it's tier one, that means you will come in and you could get your residence and leave and go. They don't want that risk. They don't want to cover that risk. Yeah. So sorry, they want to cover that risk, so they want to ensure that you're going to stay with them long term, right? You're a profile that they could nurture and develop. That's what they want. So ensure your CVs are not longer than 2 pages. That's number one. Second thing is, every application must have a cover letter, right? Please note that every application needs to have a cover letter. Otherwise, New Zealand employers don't really care for your application, right? Plus, please note that the application, when you make an application to these jobs, most of these are vetted by an online system or a CRM or a software, right? So there will be certain keywords that the system will look for in your CV and cover letter, and if those keywords are not there, then your CV is not even going to go in front of an actual person, right? So that means keywords. Now you might say, what are the keywords? The keywords are there in the job application. It's the skills that they have listed clearly. So those skills, don't try and use fancy different language. Yeah. Don't stick to the keywords that are mentioned under skills in the job post. Stick to that, right? And do not list everything and everything there. It's not required. Okay. Now I and my team, we are not HR execs. We are not in recruitment hands on. So I may not be able to confidently tell you this is what. But there are people outside, there are professionals in New Zealand who will look at your CV and help you to make it New Zealand requirement. Yeah, match the New Zealand requirement. In fact, we do have somebody who we are partnered with, who will be able to look at your CV and is like a career coach, will assist you, right? Our job as licensed immigration advisors is to connect you to those opportunities. One is we can connect you to a career coach or a job coach. Second, we are also now going to be partnering with a lot of employers here in New Zealand. That's one good news here today, is we are going to be partnering with employers in order to help you find jobs here. We have already spoken to 4 different recruiters right now. And at the moment, the biggest requirement is healthcare workers, nurses, and engineers. Plus, there is something called a recovery visa, which the government has recently announced, where people of lower skilled are required. These are just temporary roles for 6 months or more, but these are not something long term. So if you're looking at a quick stint in the country, that's great. The recovery visas will be available for you, like jobs like baggage handlers, cleaners, and stuff like that. So those all jobs are also available right now. So the minute we have in fact, I'm having a chat with one of the recruiters tomorrow. That's tomorrow, Saturday weekend. So once I have that information, we will put it up on our social media links. You can have a look, and if you think you meet that requirement, please do send in your CVs. We will vet them and then send them through to the employer. So there is no software that is actually going to be vetting these CVs. It's going to be a human person who's actually going to look at your CVs and see if you do have the skills that's required from the employer, if you have the English language ability, because that's very, very important. And these recruiters are working with us because of two things. One is they believe that we understand the overseas markets well, right? And the second thing is they know that we understand the immigration aspects of it as well. So, that's why they trust our judgment in this, and we are going to be very, very careful of the kind of people we are going to refer. So you need to have that English language ability. You can't buy your way into it. Okay, so that's very, very important. In cases we might even ask you to go and get your IELTS done or whatever, so yeah, so we will make that announcement shortly. I think hopefully by next week you should see that information out there as to jobs available and stuff like that. If you are already on our database, you will get emailers. We have a huge, huge database, and we keep sending out emails and WhatsApp messages to our database. So if you want to stay updated, ensure you do get onto our database, right? Even if you don't qualify at this point in time, you might in the future. Or if you think you've got a big network of people who may be interested in our services, probably you could work with us as a partner or whatever. So get onto our database to get information as to what's going to happen soon. And the other interesting fact is that it's not just New Zealand that we are limited to. We are basically working across the globe. We are sending people to Canada, US, UK, Australia, Ireland, Singapore, and the UAE. In fact, this morning I've tied up with a partner in Australia who will help people get visas through us, to Australia, and also help people from New Zealand to go to Australia, right? So we are basically putting a lot of pieces of the big puzzle, the big picture that we have been working on for a long time. We are AJV Global. We want to truly be global. So we have already got successfully visas for the US, UK, um, Australia, Canada. New Zealand's always been our top country, but we already are seeing success in the other markets. And so if you're from India or from any part of the world, it does not really matter. Talk to us, get onto our database, and stay in touch. There's so much that happens around the world. There are millions of people who travel. In fact, we have people from New Zealand who have come from offshore to New Zealand, now are again moving from New Zealand again. So I think people are interested always, the urge to want, better opportunities for themselves and their kids is always there. You love to travel. You love to see different places. You love to experience different countries. AJB Global is the place to be. Yeah. So have, sign up. My team will post the information to get onto our database. Jyoti, please post the information link where people can sign in and get onto our database. As I said, even if you do not need the services right now, sign up. Then like and share this video, please, with your friends, with your colleagues. Contact, you can share our contact us page with your colleagues as well. And yeah, just stay connected, because you never know when your circumstances will change, when you want to go where, right? So that's about it. Thank you guys for coming in. I'm seeing there are no questions, so I'm not going to really talk about any of the questions. I have one question which I'll quickly touch upon. It says, I have something to discuss regarding my mom's visitor visa. So Bhuvi, I think it's best we do one-on-one, because it's going to be, and if it's your mom's visitor visa, more than likely you're here in New Zealand and you'd like your mom to visit you. So why don't you call us on our toll-free number here in New Zealand, which is 0800 696977. But if you're based offshore in India, you've got our India toll-free number. Or you can call us directly here in New Zealand at +64 um, +64 22 605 2615. So that's our New Zealand number. Jyoti, please paste the New Zealand mobile number as well, please, and the New Zealand toll-free number. So yes, so our contact information is available. It's on our website as well. It's ajvglobal.com. There are so many ways you can reach us, guys. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's so difficult to reach you guys. No, there are millions of ways to reach us. You've got our Facebook page, you've got our Instagram page, you've got our LinkedIn pages, not just our company pages, but we individually, all of us are on social media. The entire team is on social media. So I'm sure if you're trying to reach us, at least one of us is listening, and one of us can pay attention to what you want, right? It's never happened. And plus we work across different time zones. So we finish and then our India team comes on, and then we've got a Malaysian team, we've got somebody in Malaysia, we've got somebody in a couple of other parts of the world, and we've got partners across the world. So yes, we kind of work around the clock. Yeah. So get onto our website, get onto our Facebook page, like and share, follow our Instagram pages to stay up to date. And we also have a lot of contests and prizes and things like that. Our marketing team does an amazing job to keep people entertained. So yes, so please do connect with us, and we will be more than happy to help you. Even if you don't need our services right now, we can at least have a chat and understand, if you fit in terms of going somewhere or the other. Yeah, if you've got the urge, or if you think that you want to plan towards it 3 years later, doesn't matter. Have a chat with us. A no obligation chat will always help you understand where you stand, right? Thank you so much. I'm signing off. And after this session, we also have another session that we're doing, which is for nurses, specifically, which talks about healthcare workers and nurses. So I'm gonna stress on how a nurse can get registered in New Zealand, and basically get the straight to residence pathway. If you're a nurse, leave a message here. My team will give you the link to register for the live session, right? It's actually a Zoom session. It's not going to be on this platform. So if you need to register, if you want to join as a nurse, or if you have somebody in your family who would be interested, please do leave us a message on AJB Global. It's going to happen at 7:30 p.m. New Zealand time. So that's in exactly 1 hour, right? So if you want to join that, please leave us a message and my team will share the registration link. Thank you so much, guys. Signing off, and we hope to see some of you join us and join us here in New Zealand. Thank you, and have a good weekend.